are making like 300 grand a year. So the justification from the, and I'm sure I'm going to get a ton of hate from the anesthesiologists. Sorry, folks, but the truth is that you guys are wildly overpaid, not just anesthesiologists, all doctors. It's basically a cartel. And so the American Medical Association has actively lobbied, to restrict the number of doctors there to artificially push up the price. That works in conjunction with our insane, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, Anthem, and all this other reimbursement. So you basically have a ton of people. This is like a mob war between two cartels. When, as you said, the patient is what is supposed to matter. The guy under the knife or the woman who is literally asleep should not be subject to, is this doctor possibly keeping me under long enough just so he can make more money? Or is it up to the insurance company? It should literally just be about all of the health. So again, I'm not white knighting for the insurance company. That was the justification, though, that they had seen that this was a systematic problem costing them money. But the whole, the whole insanity of it is that the same procedure in so many other different countries, there is no profit consideration the entire operation. You just do whatever you have to do.
That is the core of the problem. Right. And the issue, of course, with the approach they were taking is that it ends up being the patient, once again, who gets screwed, and who gets their claim denied and is now stuck while they were under the knife, had no say over any of this. This is all happening while they're literally knocked out. And now you're stuck with a multi-$1,000 bill because your claim has been denied because the surgery took longer than they expected. But you are 100% correct that the profit motive for all of these actors, whether it's the hospitals or the health insurers or the pharmaceutical companies or any of these different sort of mafia-like cartels within our healthcare system, that really is the root of the problem. I might do a monologue on, the New York Times had a good piece about these methadone clinics. And I mean, it's the same thing. It's another part of our healthcare system, and the same profit motives are applied there, where they're supposed to be giving counseling. They're by and large not. They're falsifying records. They're giving methadone to people who should not be eligible to get methadone, who may have a meth addiction or a non-opioid addiction, but this is really meant for people who are suffering with opioid addiction. But it's just like a microcosm of the way that these disgusting profit motives should not be at the core of our healthcare. And it leads to patients getting gouged and people getting sick and us having a disastrous life expectancy. I mean, this really is kind of the root of the problem. So in any case, the thing that was significant here with this particular decision was just how quickly they backed off of it, given the climate, given the scrutiny right now of the health insurance industry, and how how overwhelming the reaction was to the killing of the CEO. Meanwhile, so United Health Group, the Brian Thompson, who is the CEO who was murdered, he was in charge of the insurance portion. There's a broader United Health Group whose CEO put out a series of videos for their internal. You could imagine if you're an employee of this health insurance company, you're like, what the hell is going on right now? So anyway, Ken Klippenstein was leaked this video of the United CEO's reaction and his presentation internally to employees, where he's specifically here giving them some advice about how to handle media inquiries. And the TLDR is he's like, just avoid the media altogether. Let's take a listen to how that went.
I'd like to give you a little bit of advice around the media. You've seen a lot of media interest in this situation with a huge amount of misinformation and, frankly, offensive communication. My strong advice and request to everybody is just don't engage with the media. If you're approached, I would recommend not responding, and if necessary, simply refer them to our own media organization. There's no value in engaging with the media, and as you've seen, people are writing things we simply don't recognize, are aggressive, inappropriate, and disrespectful. We've created a management structure to navigate through the period that we're in. And that will focus on making sure that we continue to communicate within the organization, just like I am now.
So, don't talk to the media. don't communicate with them, et cetera. Ken has gotten some leaks from employees at United Healthcare about how they're processing all of this as well, and obviously was leaked this particular communication. But, it must be pretty shocking, Sagar, if you are, especially an executive at one of these companies, to really sit with this reaction. Like, it must be really quite a shocking thing to behold.
So maybe, but also remember what his wife said. He's like, well, there were some threats over denied coverage. I mean, you and I don't see this, but imagine being on their side. You probably get heartfelt emails and threats and stuff all the time. I mean, I know peripheral people in the healthcare industry, nurses, doctors, et cetera. They rant about the insurance companies nonstop, right? But then imagine me, and they kick up their complaints to their hospital administrators, who I'm assuming, if they're not, in collaboration, which they sometimes are, kicking some of that up to the insurance companies. I don't know. I mean, if anything, again, like I just explained with the doctors, this thing is so screwed up that it's so multifaceted. It's the insurance companies, it's the PBMs, it's the drug companies, it's the doctors, it's the hospitals. And, everyone wants to believe their sweet old doctor is in their camp, and they probably are, but remember, they work for somebody too. A lot of these hospital companies, we covered a lot of this. Remember during COVID, a lot of them were going bankrupt? Yeah. Well, guess what happened? They all got rolled up into private equity, and now all those people work for a single conglomerate.
Well, apparently, Stoller's been tracking a bunch of the anesthesiologists, go back to that, have been part of these PE, private equity roll-ups as well, which means, and those are, this is permanent capital, has huge interest in just gouging, getting everything they possibly can out of these financial arrangements. And, it shouldn't be a financial arrangement. Like other people in different countries where they have single-payer healthcare. I'm not saying it's perfect. I know there are things they complain about and wish were different as well, but they look at our system and they're like, this is absolutely insane. Like if you're sick, you just go to the doctor and you get the care that you need. And so, when you put a profit motive at the center of this, it becomes grotesque. And what you get out of it is profit for a lot of effectively leeches and patients who suffer. The same recorded message from that United CEO, his name is Andrew Whitty, he also spoke to, he was trying to pump up the reputation of United Healthcare, which we had showed you before. Of all the health insurers, they actually have the highest claims denial rate. They're being sued for using this algorithm, which according to the lawsuit has a 90% error rate. So again, they're innovating in ways to use technology to also deny claims that patients need, to be filled so that they can get the care that they need. So in any case, here is the CEO trying to pump up their reputation and talk about what a great actor they are in the space. Let's take a listen to that.
I'm sure everybody has been disturbed by the amount of negative and in many cases vitriolic media and commentary that has been produced over the last few days, particularly in the social media environment. And I want to reassure you of a few things. Firstly, we are going to continue to make sure that we put patients, consumers, and members first, as we always have done. The mission of this company is truly to make sure that we help the system improve by helping the experience for individuals get better and better. There was nobody who did more to try and advance that mission than Brian Thompson. And there are very few people in the history of the US healthcare industry who had a bigger positive effect on American healthcare than Brian. And we are going to make sure that we not only acknowledge and honor that legacy of Brian, but we'll continue it. Our role is a critical role, and we make sure that care is safe, appropriate, and is delivered when people need it. And we guard against the pressures that exist for unsafe care or for unnecessary care to be delivered in a way which makes the whole system too complex and ultimately unsustainable.
So kind of an interesting way of phrasing things there. He says we guard against unnecessary care. And listen, to your point, Sagar, I'm sure there are instances where, doctors are incentivized to send you for a bunch of tests that you don't necessarily need, or even a
Medicare
procedure that you don't. Oh, well, you can ask Senator Rick Scott about that one. But But, you know, that's their sort of industry cope, is that they are these guardians against you getting quote unquote unnecessary care. But what he doesn't say is also swept up in this very, you know, generous mission.